Hello and welcome to this introduction to Magai. Today I'm going to walk you through the most basic and most important features of using Magai so you can get the most value as quickly as possible. And so we're going to start right out here on the dashboard. What you see in front of me now is where you will land once you sign up for Magai. The dashboard is a place where you can quickly access your recent chats and see some announcements that we might have for you. The most important of which are always going to be there. Your free perk, which is access to the AI Academy, a learning hub where we are continuously and weekly adding new content for you to learn and get the most out of AI so that you can stay ahead of the curve. Also, our Facebook group. You can get a quick link to join our private Facebook group where we discuss all things Magai and help each other become better at AI together. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing you're probably going to want to do in Magai is create a chat. It's by far the most used feature in our app, although we do have multiple different modalities of AI. Chat is by far the most used and I think the most important because this is where all of AI is headed. So let me just go ahead and close the sidebar here to give us a little more breathing room to explore the chat interface. So first and foremost, let's start with the input bar. Now, the input bar down here is where you will type your messages to the AI. Just like any text message app that you've used, any messaging app, this is where you get to type out your messages to the intended party that you're sending it to. So with our input bar, we have a handful of features that will help you enhance your AI activity. But let's just start with a basic prompt. I'm just going to start with hello. I'm just going to send that message to the AI and it's going to respond to me accordingly, just like it would in any other AI app. So it's as easy as that. You can start typing, hit the enter key and send off your message. Now, there are some enhancements that we've brought to the input bar because we want, again, to make it as powerful as possible for you to work with the AI in easy ways and even more complex ways depending on your needs. So the first thing you want to take note of is we have an attachment button. If you have a document that you'd like to upload, a PDF, a Microsoft Word doc, a text file, something that you want the AI to understand or interact with or know about, you can simply hit that button, drop your file in here or click to upload. And once your file is done uploading, you can click the finish button and it will get automatically attached to your prompt and you can then send it off to the AI. Now, it's also worth noting here that if you're using an AI model, of which we have many inside of Magai, we'll get to that later. If you're using an AI model that has vision capability, you can actually upload images as well. And just like any other file, you can upload your image and once it's done uploading, you can hit the finish button and it will automatically attach it to your prompt so that the AI can see your image and give you information about it. And again, it's just as simple as typing exactly what you want the AI to do with that file or that attachment and then sending it off either using the enter key or hitting the send prompt button. And there we go. The AI can see the image. Now let's move to the next button here inside of the input bar, and that is the enhance button. Now, some of you might know that the better you communicate with AI, the better output you will get. The old adage is garbage in, garbage out. So if your prompts are vague and shallow and not really full of detail like they maybe should be, then the output you're going to get from the AI is going to be very vague and often shallow and maybe not exactly what you were hoping for. So the better you can get at prompting the AI, the better your outputs and interactions will be. However, we know that not everybody's a prompt engineer, right? It's not everybody's nature to be verbose and to be really detailed in the things that they're asking an AI to do. So we've created the prompt enhance button. That means you can create a simple prompt, such as write a social media caption for this image, and you can actually have the AI enhance it. Now, we've trained our AI on what an effective prompt looks like for a chat, a conversational atmosphere. So if you hit that button, the AI is going to take your simplified prompt and it's going to rewrite it in a way that is more effective. So here we have the re-engineered prompt that says provide a clear and engaging social media caption for the given image. Ensure the caption is contextually relevant, creative, and appeals to the intended audience. include a strong call to action if appropriate and optimized for platform-specific requirements, e.g. hashtags, character limits. Now that's great. That's way better than our simple prompt. Now you can go through and you can edit and make changes based on what the AI does. And you have also a couple options. You can undo. Maybe you didn't like what the AI wrote, so you want to go back to your original prompt. You can do that by hitting the undo button. Maybe you wanted it to retry. You didn't really like it, and maybe you want to have the AI just take another shot at it. You can hit the retry button. And if you really didn't like anything, you kind of want to start over, you can hit the clear button, and it all goes back to 0. Now, the next button we have in the prompt bar is the speak prompt. So if you are the kind of person who prefers to just kind of talk through your messages, then we have the ability for that. This currently only works in Chrome browsers. It's a little buggy in other browsers and not ideal on mobile. But the good news is if you're on mobile, the app works fantastically. Our entire app is mobile responsive, and most mobile keyboards do have their own speech to text button, and you can utilize that. Now, the last button here on our prompt bar is the settings button. Once you click that settings button, you'll see a handful of options to kind of customize your experience here. So first and foremost, the input options. Some people prefer to hit the enter button and send the message, but some people want to use the enter button to add a new line. And so you have the option here to have the default mode, which is enter is the send key, and shift plus enter creates a new line. Or you can switch to the enter key, producing a new line, and then using the command enter as the shortcut to send your message. I prefer the latter, so I will use that one. And then a chat option to disable scrolling. So some people like to kind of control the scrolling, and the automatic scrolling can be kind of jarring for some people. So if you're one of those people, you can disable the scrolling as needed. And lastly, the copy button. So on each one of these, on the prompts here and on the responses, you'll notice there's a copy button. You can copy the content of that particular output and paste it wherever you need it to go. Now, sometimes the AI writes in what's known as markdown formatting, and that's when you see rich text such as headings, bold, italics, bullet points. And the AI doesn't do it in a way that is easily pasteable to other apps. It uses a shorthand form of rich text formatting known as markdown. And so that's why if you have an output that includes bold and italics and some of that formatting, and you copy it and you go to paste it and has asterisks and all these weird symbols in there, that's markdown formatting. So if you are not a fan of markdown formatting and you don't want to copy the markdown formatting, you have some options here. So you can have the app copy as plain text, which will remove all formatting whatsoever. You can have it copy as rich text, which means it's easily pasteable into something like a Google Docs or WordPress. Or you can copy it as markdown. Now, it's worth noting here that WordPress, if you are using WordPress, WordPress can convert markdown to rich text formatting automatically, which is one of the things I love about it, because I'm a big markdown user. So those options are available to you. Now we're going to move on to probably the other two most important things to know about the chat interface, and that is the ability to choose your AI model and to choose your persona. Now we'll start with the AI model. In the top left corner of the page, you'll see a button. If you click that button, you'll then get a list of all the available AI models that you have within Magai at your disposal. Now, some models are better than others. Some models have strengths and weaknesses that other models don't. And you're not expected to know all this. We have articles and help support blog posts to kind of tell you about that. But you can browse through and at any time switch your AI model during the chat. You can kind of switch between models if you want, or pick the one that you think works best for your given scenario. But the big key here is you have options. You have all of the best AI models available to you within Magai. You can sort of sort and filter them. You can search for them to make it a little bit quicker if you know the one you're looking for. You can filter them by moderated or unmoderated. And then you can even browse through our image and video models as well and generate images inside the chat and videos. Now, another thing to note here is some of the models you'll see have a little eye icon next to their name. And this indicates that this model is capable of vision. Remember before when we talked about attaching images? Some of these models can see those images and some of them cannot. Some of them do not have the vision capability. So if you see a model that does not have an eye next to it, then just know that that model is not going to be able to see images because it's not part of its skill set. Now let's move on to personas, because personas are extremely important. And for most people, they're not familiar with this concept, but they may have heard of the idea of GPTs. GPTs are essentially custom personalities given to ChatGPT, and it affects the output in a very distinct and significant way. So we call them personas. We had them in Magai from day one. And if you click on the button in the top right, it will by default be set to the assistant persona, because all AI has a persona, whether you know it or not. And in Magai, you just get to choose between them and switch them out as needed. So in Magai, we have a handful of about 50 pre-made personas that you can choose from. And the idea here is you want the right persona for the job. So if you're creating social media content, you probably want to assign a social media expert to that task. This social media expert will be much better at coming up with that social media content, and it's going to have some insight into how to do that most optimally, and it's going to sound a lot better. Or if you were writing, marketing copy, you probably want to search for a copywriter. We have an expert copywriter persona ready that is fine-tuned to help you do exactly that, right expert level copy. And it does significantly affect how the output is. And so if you use a generic assistant for every task, you're pretty much going to get generic output. So the real takeaway here is find the right persona for the given job that you have. And again, you can change these throughout the conversation. You can start with one assistant persona that might guide you in the right direction, and then switch over to a more specific persona that fits the next stage of that conversation. Once you have both your AI model and your persona selected, you have a recipe for really great output. Now let's talk about some of the other features in the chat interface to help enhance the work that you're doing. So first, we'll talk about the document editor. Over here on the right side of the page, we have the utility tray. The utility tray is filled with a number of utilities that will help you get work done better, faster, and more conveniently. So the first one is the document editor. You click on it, you'll get a beautiful, minimalistic document interface here where you can type a title, and you can just start writing content. So if you're building a project, a long form project with your AI in the chat part, you can say copy a piece and bring it right over here and paste it into the document, building that long form document right side by side with your AI assistant so that you don't have to switch tabs or switch apps while you're doing it. It makes life a lot easier for me. You also have rich text editing features here where you can bold, italic, underline, and so forth. And even a generative AI feature in here. So if you want AI to help you rewrite a sentence or add something in right there within the right there within the document, you can do that. Once you're done with your document, you have two buttons down below that will allow you to copy the text, the entirety of the document text, so you can go paste it to wherever you need to go, or an export doc feature that allows you to export it as a PDF or export it as a docx to make it easy for you to upload and store wherever you need it to store it. Next in the utility tray is our saved prompts tray. In this tray, you can see all of the prompts that you've saved, if you have saved any prompts, so that you can quickly and easily reuse them. So if you have a prompt that you like repeating on a regular basis, you can save it here, and in a single click, add it to the input just by clicking on the prompt in that sidebar. Now, to create a saved prompt, you have a couple ways to do that. You can hover over one of your messages or one of the prompts that you sent and hit the save button, and it will save to your list. You can then open and edit that prompt, give it a title, change it however you need to, or delete it entirely if you don't need it anymore. You can also put prompts into folders. You can create a folder. We'll call this new prompts, and it will be added to your list. And when you go to manage one of these prompts, so let's pick one that's, I guess we could do it here. You'll have a folder icon here, and you can easily add it to your new prompts folder, clearing up the clutter a little bit in your list. And you can dive into one of these folders and look through the prompts that are in that folder, which just helps you stay a little bit more organized throughout your prompt reusing process. It's also worth noting here that you can filter these by date, you can filter them by name, just to make it a little bit easier, and you can search through them at will to find the one you need specifically. Next on the list is our chats utility tray. The chats utility tray allows you to search through all of your previous conversations that you've ever had inside of Magai and easily find and switch to the one that you're looking for. So I can click on this one here and it instantly populates in the page. I don't have to reload the page or go to another page or anything. I can instantly kind of go through all of these and click on one and start picking up where I left off, which is really great. You also notice you have folders in here as well. You can search through your chats using the search and filter. Some pretty extensive filtering here. If you only want to see folders, if you only want to see chats, you can do that. You can sort alphabetically or by date. You can even perform bulk actions on them if you need to. And that is essentially the chat bar. Now, the last button on this utility tray is the chat info tray, where you can view the title of the chat. You can actually change it at any time just by clicking in there and typing. You can see your chat settings with the current model set to your current persona. You can see what workspace you're currently in. We'll talk about workspaces a little bit later in another video. You can see what folder you're currently in, and you can change folders if needed. You can make this chat shareable. You can share it with members of your team, also something we'll talk about in another video. And you can make it public. So if you click public, or you switch public to yes, you'll get a little link icon here, which you can click, and then in your clipboard, you will have a link that you can share with anyone, and anybody with that link will be able to view your chat conversation. And then just a little indicator of how large your conversation is. Some of these models have very short context windows, and we will just indicate down here how much of that memory or that context window is being taken up by your current conversation. So you know that at some point, if it gets too long, once it reaches 100%, the AI will start forgetting some things. Now, lastly, in our chat interface here, we have a menu button at the top of the utility tray. If you click on this button, you'll get a number of different options, and I wanted to go through them with you. So the new button just allows you to start a new conversation fresh, quickly, without having to do a whole lot of navigating around. The delete button, obviously, will delete the current chat that you're in. The archive button is a way to archive the chat, and if you don't want to necessarily delete it, but you don't want it cluttering up your main list of chats, you can archive it and then go find it later if you need to. You can duplicate the chat. So maybe if you have a conversation that's gotten to a certain point and you want to sort of create a branch version of that conversation and kind of take it in a different direction without ruining, where you left off, you can then duplicate it with this button. You can export the whole conversation as a PDF. If you want to, use it as a PDF and move it elsewhere, you can do that. The options here, default and wide, refers to the width of the chat. So let me just open this up so you can get a good idea of what this does. So the default width is what you see here. And if I were to switch it to wide, you see it gets a little bit wider. Some people like a little more space as they're viewing things, and so switching to wide will allow you to do that. I prefer default. And if you are really just wanting a distraction-free way to have a conversation with the AI, you can turn on our distraction-free mode, which gets rid of the sidebars and allows you just to focus in on the center. Now you can hover over these little arrows here to bring the sidebar back or to make it disappear again, and same thing on the right-hand side. Now, before we wrap this video up, I wanted to give you two really great uses that are kind of hidden inside of Magai, but are extremely helpful when you need them. So to do that, I've started a new conversation here. And let's say that I wanted the AI to know what was on my website, what was on my homepage. I wanted to know about my business or my company or my project. And instead of having to go and select all the text from that page and copy it and paste it into the chat, Magai actually has a really easy way of letting the AI know what is on any given web page by simply just adding the URL. So I can say something like, please summarize this web page content, and I can just paste in the URL with the HTTPS and the first part of that URL included, and I can send it off to the AI. Now, what Magai is going to do once you send that prompt is it's going to recognize, oh, there's a URL here. I'm going to go follow that URL, scrape the content of that page, and then attach it to the user's prompt so that the AI can then see it as if they had just uploaded a document. Because as of now, AI cannot scrape or crawl web pages unless you give it some external functions. And so we've kind of augmented it in this way. So as you can see, I've got the attachment here. I can actually click on it and see what was scraped from that page, quite a bit of content. And then the AI was able to respond to it accordingly. Now, this is extremely helpful for a number of reasons, and I'm sure you'll come up with all kinds of great ways to use it. But let me talk about the next useful little aspect here is if you were to paste a YouTube link, Magai would recognize that and treat it differently as any other URL. Now here I've started a new conversation and I've simply said summarize this video, and then I've pasted a link to a YouTube video. Now when I do this, what Magai does is it recognizes that's a YouTube video link. And it's going to follow that link and it's going to go to that video page and it's going to extract the transcript from that video and attach it to your prompt automatically. So you can get the entire summary or the entire transcript loaded into your conversation so that the AI can then understand what's in that video. And so you see it's attached to the video here. I can actually click on that and see the transcript from that page, and the AI can then respond to it accordingly. This unlocks a whole host of potential use cases here, and I'll let your imagine go and find all of those ones that work for you. And that's an overview of our most important feature, the chat feature. And there's a lot more we can go into, and we will in future videos. But thank you so much for joining me for this, and I can't wait to see how you make the most of the chat interface in Magai.